deeper in that.
Yeah,
Tim, you talked about confidence, and I got to tell you, with everybody that I'm talking to right now, that is the big thing that I mean, it was just like you. So I'm writing down keywords here. It was like, ding, 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 you win the magic prize and that. But it's the confidence, because I really believe that people think, I don't have the confidence, or I just couldn't walk in a room. And, you tell me I should walk in the room and act like I don't, I don't own it, but, it's like, or I do own it. But I couldn't even talk to people. But that's where, if you arm yourself with those good questions, some things that you think somebody might be interested, or have shown that they were intrigued by you before, and do something, and then give a genuine compliment, not a BS compliment, but a nice one. Hey man, you're rocking that sweater, or, love that necklace, or something like that. Just something, but it's a kind gesture to start with it. You will be surprised that then the people will actually pause to listen to us. But confidence, you don't have to have confidence. I totally agree. And I'm going to read his book with Matthew. You can fake confidence. You can pull your shoulders back. And I put this in the book. I said, as being the little Viking, because I was picked on a lot. Nobody looks like me. Redheads with blue eyes, if you don't know it, are 1% of the whole population. We are a genetic mutation. So everywhere we traveled, we moved 7 times before I was in high school. I was always that person that people made fun of, or didn't want to talk to, because I was strange, or I was the new kid. And what I learned is, when you lift your head up and you put those shoulders back, and you do that, guess what? You don't get bullied as much, because they're not, it's like all of a sudden they don't know what to do with you. And if you just stand there and you smile and you look approachable with your shoulders back, people are drawn to you, because they're like, what's she got? What's he got going on?
How do you start implementing that if you're, let's say, 35 years old, right? And your whole life you've been afraid of that. You've neglected that side of it. You are an introvert. You are not into that game. And then now you're saying, hey, by the way, implement all this other stuff. Like, how do you start to implement something like that you are absolutely terrified of doing?
Well, one thing I would hope,
because all three of us, I think, are actually more on the extroverted side of things, that we're not afraid of doing things like that. But so how do you?
Except Zach, I would challenge you. So, for example, think about me, because Red Hawk came out January 2016. So that's coming up on 6 years. So think about that. I was terrified. I'd always been branded as a corporate exec. I've never been an entrepreneur. I was in awe of you all. I was like, wow, these people have created businesses, and they have ideas, and they launched them on their own. And I'm used to having all these departments behind me that give me all the answers and resources, and they figure it out themselves. I was terrified. So there was a lot of fake it before you make it. So I would answer your question with, one is, hopefully the person has at least one good, solid, trusted friend. And if they have that in their life, tell that person, say, look, I want to be better at. And if it's being better at talking to people, say, can we get, the next time we're out somewhere, can you kind of give me a social clue or a nudge, or could we work out? And I did this with one woman. I said, how about we work out a secret word? And when I say the secret word, then, so don't laugh, but then I said, then that's your point, that's then when you're going to be quiet. Because in her problem, she got so nervous being in public, and she lacked the confidence that she would not shut up, and people just kind of glazed over and walked away, right? So she missed it. So if you can ask one of your good friends, or maybe someone in your family, for like, what's the thing you think I could do better connecting with people, and then start taking some of that advice, but only get it from somebody who's, once again, like we talked at the beginning of the show, who's got your best interest at heart. So if you know they got your best interest at heart, then ask them and say, what's that thing you think I can do? And then you'll be gold. You will be able to do that. But I got to tell you, I was that person, and I still am. When I go into a military event, and they start talking about, we had the CPUs and the SOPs and GI, la 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 la. I mean, I'm like, oh my.
Yeah. Another thing that I would add, kind of piggybacking off of Kim's piece, where she says she's struggling breaking into this thing where for 30 plus years she's been told to do this. I don't know how old she is, but you're being told forever, don't do this thing or act this certain way. I can completely understand where it becomes something that's difficult. The way I would look at it is probably the way that people should look at weight loss, right? You didn't gain all that weight overnight. You're not going to lose all that weight overnight. So it's going to take a little bit of a time. And if you only do it once a month, and it's going to take 35 different situations for you to figure that out, that means you have to do that for, what's that math? 3 years, right?
Right.
So look at what a dietitian will tell you. Lose 1 pound a week, right? That's what they'll say is taking off 500 calories a day of what you should normally do, right? Just a little bit every single day. If you want to improve your social skills in this thing, that means you have to do something every single day to accelerate that a little bit, right? And so if you don't accelerate that, if you don't look at it from it's a baby step purpose, it's going to be difficult. You're not just going to jump in and say, oh, I'm going to write a book tomorrow. No, you're probably going to write a chapter or a half a chapter or a quarter of a chapter, because it just takes a little bit of time every single day to get better at that. You know, Tim Ryan, it took him 17,000 days straight to qualify for the Boston Marathon. When he finally did it, it was like, yo, I finally did it. You know,
I've arrived.
It was the shoes, it was the motor that he had, it was the fact that he got into a car and drove around a couple of miles that he didn't have to do. I'm kidding. It was all him. But it was those baby steps to get to that piece. And I think just like everything else, you have to look at it as it's very difficult to make this thing overnight. If you look at it from an overnight perspective, you're going to worsen the situation. So you have to look at it from an elongated process.
And it's like, if you want to be like a hero, I mean, you get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You walk into a place, you're not feeling super confident. If you look for that other person in the room that has nobody to talk to, and it's just really uncomfortable, and you talk to that person, you're a hero to that person. And then once you get that person to open up, you've made a friend, possibly forever. You made them comfortable, and then the conversation just starts. Very easy first step.
And I think Zoom has really hurt us a lot. And I do want to go back to social media, because that's where we were talking at the beginning, and you graciously introduced me. Because Zoom and the technology and all of this, it's really hurting people. Because talking about the practicing, we can't just like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to 3 things this week, so I'm going to 3 times it. So then I'm going to, within 6 months, then I'm going to have like X amount of exposure. Okay, I'm feeling more confident with how to introduce myself or hold my shoulders up or what to wear, right? So Zoom has really, this whole Skyping and Zooming and webinar stuff, it has damaged so many of us from being able to have the ability to then connect in person, because one, you can't read the rest of my body language here. So you're seeing this, I'm in a box here, and you're not getting the whole 55% of my body language. So 55% of your communication skills come directly from seeing the entire body. Okay, on how effective you're understanding what I'm saying to you. So for example, if I showed you like my feet and I was standing and we were in person, you might see that maybe I'm pigeon-toed, you know, or maybe I'm like taking a really wide stance, which is a power pose, right? So depending on how my standing is, you might get a different impression than how the top of my body is. Our words, if y'all don't know this, because I love this information here, I'm kind of like a geek on some of these communication skills. 38% of our effectiveness comes from our tone and our voice. So that's why it's so super important to pick up the phone and still talk to people. And that's what Zoom has removed. What are we doing? We're going in and we're using our 7 effective skill. Words are 7% effective. So we're going into the chat. Hey, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. Or here's my question. And I don't have to talk to anybody anymore. I don't have to worry about my tone and fun, and nobody sees me. So it's really important. Social skills are a muscle. I'm going to say that again. Social skills are a muscle. If you use them, just like your dog, I read an article 2 days ago, and it said, if your dog has been locked up in the house, haven't been socializing, do not take your dog out to a group or the park and go, hey, we're back out of the park. Let the dog ease back into it. So they said small groups and let them warm up. And yet as human beings, we're not doing that right now. We've gone from where they're on camera, like we're doing here, or then all of a sudden, bam, we're in presence and standing trying to talk to somebody. And we're confused right now. It's damaged us. It's going to take some time for us to get comfortable. So imagine, back to your question, Zach, with, well, what do I do if my confidence isn't all that to begin with? Well, that's why you got to have the safety. You got to have the network of somebody who's with you, that has your back. That's like, this is how I thought you did better, or here's my secret word that I said. That's either going to tell you to, now it's time for you to ask a question, or, queue up. I can't tell you how many times I'll be standing there talking to somebody that to try to help them see this. And I'll say, hey, Mike, can you believe that Sue is into that? Wow. Like, who would have? And then Mike, all of a sudden you can see him like wake up like, oh, what? It's like, okay, dude, it's like the volleyball, right? I spiked it to you. Okay, get it, Mike. Okay, to Susie. It's like, okay, great. And then I can get them to start a conversation, but Mike may not even have a clue. So
do we have a list of secret words though? Because I'm really interested.
I know, right?
You never.
I will say the one interesting thing. One interesting thing about Zoom, though, that I think that if someone who may lack confidence or is that the real estate on Zoom is the same. Everybody gets the same size square, whether if you're the CEO, you're worth $100 million, or you're an entry-level position. So from that standpoint, it's interesting that everyone gets the same real estate. No one, so it levels the playing field from a communication standpoint from that way. And I've heard other people say that, hey, that's a good thing because, hey, you're just like me. We're all the same. And I feel more comfortable jumping in and sharing what's on my mind.
And I think a lot of kids, anyone younger than me, likes this as their safety mechanism. And I think that the face-to-face, I mean, there are kids who like hang out literally in a room together, and they're on this this is what they do. And so like that's I think there's going to continue to be a hybrid of this. And I think that while the three of us are more comfortable than some of others getting on stage and doing things like that, I do think we're going to have to figure out, people are going to have to continue to figure out how to screenify their social skills so that they can
screenify. I was trying to pull up a photo here for you. I want to show you these two women that came over. I was at a book signing event, and these two women came over and they were jumping up and down. And I'm thinking, oh, is something wrong? And they're early 20s. They came over, grabbed the book, and said, oh my gosh, can you come to my sorority? We don't know this. We need to make friends because our whole life we've been on devices in front of everybody. And they're like, are you the author? And it gave me chills. And I was like, yeah, I am. So there's the two beautiful young women. And it was like, and I'm like, absolutely, I'd be happy to help you. I mean, so in that moment, and you're right, Zach, because even though this is their comfort zone, they're now realizing it. They're like, I got to go out in the world and I don't know how to, like, wow. Or why is this person not, and they loved it when it said true friends. Why is this person not acting like what I think should be a true friend?
Can family be true friends?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. That's a really good one, because in the book under situational friendships, I talk about the necessity for us to then evolve, particularly with our siblings, because with our siblings or different, or maybe it's your niece or your nephew, or so they're younger than you, they're older than you. However, here's the thing though, is that families have a tendency to, they peg us, right? They put us, okay, well, you've always been here. You're the younger one, you're the older one, you're the wiser one, you're the richer one. And then they don't see us as a person. So in the book, I talk a lot about how do we change the way we talk to them and rephrase our expression. So my answer is yes, family members can become friends. However, ... we have to be aware that, are we acting like a friend? And I give one example in there, perhaps like with the aging parent. Aging parents don't need their kids to dote on them and nag the living heck out of them and go over and move their stuff around. They don't need that. What they need is they need an adult who's going to act like an adult, and treat them like a friend. And so I absolutely believe that friends can happen in families, but do they happen? Yeah, you really got to work at it. So it's a rarity, but when it happens, it's beautiful. And I have seen it in many cases. It's beautiful when it happens.